I am recording now.
Hi.
Hi. We're gonna get started. I want to thank everyone for joining 5 Points Art Gallery's fifth virtual artist chat. This one I've entitled Page Turners to focus on art books and printed works that people might not think are associated with galleries or sometimes museums and other products that artists can make to display their work. I really am an advocate and collector of art books. I like them for a couple of reasons. One, it allows the audience or the viewer to amass, if it's more visual works, amass those visual works in one package where those independent works might not be for sale if they go to a museum, or if they are for sale, the price point might be out of their range, or there might be multiple pieces that they want and can't amass themselves. And so it kind of is a composite of collecting all those works and that experience into one. And then the books also give probably more takeaways, the text that might be absent from the viewing experience. And so it just probably resonates as a longer keepsake for people who visit and attached to an exhibition or can't physically, financially collect the works that they want. And then again, it's a way to show for the artists themselves to expand their market and reach in their product lines, because we are producers not only of cultural works, but we aim to sell and promote our work. So I collect art magazines. I have comic books. Um, I'll purchase like I forget the technical names, but when you go see an exhibition, the I know
the art gallery show books.
Yeah, the gallery books.
Yeah. Museum, and I have quite a few, and so that's the purpose of it. So we're gonna get started with the page turners. I think I'm going to start with Luther.
Hi, Luther. Oh, great. Hi, hello. How are you? Thank you very much for having me on. Thank you.
I have a range of different works, and all of the different sessions are intended to spread like how vast the collection of works are in the gallery, but also to show people how they can get involved in different ways. So like you do comic books.
Yep.
And so I have two that are in the gallery. And your brand is Angry Cat?
Yes, that's correct.
Also, the purpose of this is to let us know what you're doing now in the midst of all this mess. Pandemic.
Yeah.
We'll also talk about your work. Are you still working? Like on your work, your art products, or are you physically working outside of that if you were doing that?
I am still working on Angry Cat. I actually have a strip in the River West Currents, and I just did the next 3 months. Yeah, this is an old one. This is from Thanksgiving last year. So it's part of the same series. And it kind of freaks me out because it's about the first issue is containment, and that's kind of what was going on right now. And I came up with the idea like probably 10 years ago. So it kind of freaked me out. But aside from that, yes, I'm still working. I want to make action figures. I'm working on that right now. So I'm trying to diversify as far as skill set. I'm using this time to learn a new skill set and finish the book. So I plan on coming out with 2 more books.
You've been doing a 3D printing stuff.
Yep. So I'm almost tempted to try and get another machine, but I'm gonna come up with some more test prints first before I do that. So, because I think that's kind of where everything's going. I want to make robots. I'm not gonna lie. I want to make robots. So.
And I guess the purpose is to show how essentially most artists are multifaceted.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Some
Like,
artists specifically define themselves as multidisciplinary, but I'm like, yeah, most of the artists I know are that, delve in a lot of different.
I was gonna say that. I was thinking it was just me too. Like a lot of the artists that I know usually have more than one discipline under their belt.
Yeah.
I don't know
It was
about any of you, but
trying to create these bodies, like how am I gonna do catch-alls? So yeah. So it's interesting to hear that you're delving into 3D from 2D, more illustrative drawing to a 3D platform, and to hear how you like, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna invest in this so I can, you know,
exactly.
feel
Because
your.
you know, and it's also pushing your craft. Like you want to push your capabilities. I think, and as me as an artist, it's something like personally competitive for me. Like as soon as I don't want to be stuck and stagnant on one box because I feel like I'm capable of so much more. So if I have an opportunity to try a different medium, I'll try it. I don't have to like it. And if I don't like it, I don't have to do it. So there you go.
Do you feel, have you gotten feedback or feel pressure by others who have the theory, the jack of all trades, the master of none?
No. But I do say this. I said there's one thing they're really good at, like put a little more energy into that and invest in that a little bit more so you'll actually see returns and you'll know because you'll actually get some kind of return from it. But like, no, life is about learning if you ask me. I'm like, try and learn it. If you just play with it. That's what I say. That's just my take on creativity. I don't know. Maybe I take it for granted or something. I don't know.
Or maybe as a, hi Mark,
Hope not.
as adult humans,
Those humans.
we have start abandoning play.
Definitely. Like
And
I don't. Yeah.
that's the excuse, like, no, you need to master this one thing and become serious about this one thing only. And
I'm.
one thing only versus
I used to be 100% diehard like that, but lately I've become more pragmatic, especially in light of recent events. I think you should allow yourself to play as a creative. However, you got to realize you live in a world where you have to eat and you have to earn money to eat. And if there's one thing that you're good at and that actually, kind of gives you a level of support, don't take that for granted either. That's where I'm at right now. I don't know. Does anybody have any other opinion or view? Am I the only one who thinks like this, or I don't know.
I'm big on diversifying. That's why it's hard for me to be like, to define myself per se. They're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, this. Well, what is your focus? This. I do this. I have contracts from this. I have contracts from that. When one is up, one might be down. Sometimes I'm
Guilty.
at the same time. So it helps balance out. But feel free to jump in. This is casual, and I'll introduce you to as you start talking.
Okay, I can talk about the idea of creativity and delving into many different areas. I really find that, for instance, I'm a writer. I love, yes, that's my thing.
Oh, okay.
Her product.
So, what'd you say?
I'm just briefly introducing you. This is her product, or one of them. She does the Janya Urban Arts magazine. She publishes herself international artist works in this magazine, and this is also, she sells them herself, but they're also in the gift shop at the gallery.
So that particular edition is only available in the gallery right now. There are no more copies. So you have the last couple copies of that. So I am a writer. First and foremost, I'm an educator. However, I find that when I began working on genre urban arts, I didn't realize how into design I really am. I really enjoy designing the magazine and taking the different pieces of art and writing and deciding what it's going to look like, and playing around with typography and selecting this. And I feel kind of bad too, but selecting and curating, yes,
That's nice.
curating the art that comes into the magazine. And at this point, Genre Urban Arts is published about 400 artists and writers. We have 9 editions of our, we have 9 editions of
Okay.
our, that's not me, I don't know what that is, but
That's Al.
Sorry about that.
we have 9 editions of genre out, so we've been going on for about 3 years, but I play in everything. I found about 2 years ago that painting, and I'm not a great painter, like this is not, it's very mediocre, but it's so calming, and just spending time and seeing how like the paintbrush, like if you push it at a certain angle, or you know, it just does different things, and I had never really paid attention to that. And so like the idea of play, yes, that's my homie Stefania Morgante. She is a great collaborator. She's from Italy. Wonderful, cool lady. But yeah, this idea of play, I love creating, I love challenging. When I started genre, I had no idea how to use InDesign, like how to make a magazine whatsoever. I didn't know. I went in and I just was like, oh, there's gonna be one next month. And so it had to happen. And so I had to teach myself how to make it. And honestly, it was one of the most rewarding. Yes, that's one of my favorite submissions right there.
Oh.
But yeah,
Oh,
you
wow.
see, I get to play with the typography and the art, and I love it. So, but anyone else, go ahead and chime in.
Who is this?
Oh, that's me and my uncle. That's me and my uncle Miko. That particular edition, I dedicated to my uncle. He had passed away about 2 months before that edition was released, and he was my largest supporter. And so, yeah, that's me and my uncle.
I like what you said about being self-taught, because that's essentially what I am in almost all that I do. It's just like, okay, I think I can do it, and you
Gotta
just
do it.
navigate through it, and you become proficient. Probably with some failures.
Failure is good. I don't want to say I enjoy failure. I look at failure and then I sit in it like, oh, I messed up. But then if you can get past that moment where you're mad that you didn't do well, you can look back and see like, what can I do to improve this? Like, what do I need to do? And that's when it is gold.
Yeah.
But then you still go in with a conscious concept of quality too. And then like when you fail, it's a learning mistake, like you versus like I'm just doing it, and you know, you don't even care about what you're doing, you're just doing it and like hoping something sticks, versus like you're intentional. Well, it might not go how you plan, but then you have a strategy on how to navigate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there any new additions that you're working on?
We are working on this cover. This is a cover behind me. I have this piece commissioned. I don't know how well you can see it, but this piece was commissioned by an artist on Instagram. Her name is Don't Touch My Hair. Her name is Sasha. Yeah, Sasha Bartoni. And so I commissioned this piece. This is the cover for Femme Literati Mixtape, and it's an anthology for women of color. And I can show you, I have all my little books here, but this is the first cover of Femme Literati Mixtape, and it was done by the same artist. And I just want to continue to work with her because I just love her mission. Yeah, we have lots of things open, and we're accepting submissions for all types of writing and art from urban creatives.
Have you met Kirsten Ghaznavi?
Yeah.
Nope, I've not.
She's great.
Milwaukee for right now. I mean, her exhibition got cut short because of this, but she makes like paper dolls, but she also does illustrations. She sells a coloring book though.
I have met that woman.
So she's really a good person to connect with too, in addition to all your other connections. The works you just show kind of reminded me of like some of her characters.
Yes. Yes.
So she'll be a good person. I can give you her contact.
Yes.
Illustrations, the paper dolls. Now she graduated to some like larger than life wood cut movable dolls that are in the gallery right now. but that'll probably be a good person for you to get in touch with.
Okay, thank you.
Nakeysha, how do you sell your, is it by subscription or how do you distribute?
We sell our magazine online at genreurbanarts.com. You can purchase a subscription through genreurbanarts.com.
Okay.
And yeah, online, I started to try to branch out and really distribute to stores, but I found that my audience is not going into stores. Very, like, you know, I had it in like several different stores, and I just found that people are purchasing my prints from my website. Like, they go much more quickly. And we're a small batch printer, and we're it's still an independent, you know, very independent, small print house. And yeah, we print about, I want to say 200 copies of each edition, 200 to 300 copies.
Okay.
And we usually, they go pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Thank you.
Are you still busy right now?
Yeah, I'm busy. I am, right now I'm working on acclimating some contributors to the website, because we also have a website where we post different artworks and writing. So I just brought on a couple of new contributors for that. But in addition to that, like I said, I teach, I manage grants. So I am doing lots of other things in addition to that from home now. Some of it was from home already. A lot of it was actually from home already, but it feels different. Like this, I can't go anywhere, not just because I'm being an introvert and wanting to stay home now. It's a little different.
You're multitasking on the phone while you're driving. Should I not say that?
Absolutely not. But yeah, no, yeah, I am busy. I need to get through these submissions for Femme Literati mixtape and our number 10 print. I need to go through and curate like what's going to be in our next edition. So I'm really excited about seeing what nuggets we have.
Well, keep us updated, and you can type into the chat your website. And
Okay.
And so while we're more on the illustrative track, I'm gonna loop in Allison Westbrook IV, another Milwaukee-based artist.
Yep.
So Allison, tell us about your work and what you've been up to.
Tell
us about your background.
Literally. My background is I'm self-taught. Grew up in Milwaukee, and I've just always been into like sci-fi and fantasy stuff. And for a long time, I actually stopped drawing for probably about 5 years, 7 years or so, because I, wanted to be a musician. Went to school for music composition, which wasn't intentional. I wanted to be a multimedia artist wanted to go to school with a focus in multimedia. But when I went to UWM, the program it was just starting, so it wasn't really well formed. And so I decided to go just the music composition track, just so that I could get through with a 4-year degree instead of waiting for this nascent program to like flesh out and then be something worth graduating with a degree from. So yeah, I went into composition, and that was like 4 years of basically getting my ego crushed. I learned a lot though, going to school for music. That was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But long story short, by the time I graduated, I had no real interest in wanting to do music professionally anymore. But in the interim, from studying composition, I got into animation. I realized like the similarities between like how you put together a large-scale orchestral piece is a lot like how you put together an animation with big chunks, and you work down smaller and smaller to define like the fine movements. But you figure out what your beginning and end is going to be, and then you figure out what your crescendo is going to be, and then you fill in the other stuff and figure out the transitions. And I thought that was cool, and so that got me back into drawing. So I had been drawing ever since I was little, but yeah, that whole interim I had just stopped and was doing music, and then the disillusionment I had with after going to music school brought me back to drawing. And so since then, since graduation, I've been doing basically kind of what Lou was talking about, the jack of all trades kind of thing. I'm interested in a lot of different stuff. So once I started getting into animation, I realized like how much of my chops I had lost of drawing, and just dove back into it hardcore, and got better and better at drawing again, till I was better than I was when I had stopped. And because of that, I got into like concept art for video games and stuff, and that's basically defined what I do now, the style that I work in.
Quick question, do you see any pros, cons, benefits, hindrance from the formal art background, going to school for art, versus what you're pursuing that you said is self-taught? Because you went to art school, but it was for music, does it still blend? Because I didn't go to art school, I have no background in that formally, but I do formally engage in the industry. I am an artist.
Right. Here's what I have to say.
Like, I have this art degree, and then I see plenty of dynamic professionals who don't have a art degree. And so I'm wondering if you find like what's the pros and cons, which one you prefer?
Well, here's the thing, what I have to say about that is I don't have a visual arts degree. A lot of people look at my artwork and think I do have a visual arts degree. I've never gotten a degree in visual arts. I've only had 1 year of schooling for visual arts, and that was in 1987 at my ed. So I really am self-taught as far as visual arts goes. The thing that I really appreciated about going to school is connections. It's like all the people that you meet that you would never meet just, if you just followed your own path and hung out with, the kind of people that you usually pick to hang out with, right? You're not going to run into all of these different personalities who knows whoever. I know some interesting people because I went to school that I know I would not have gotten to meet if it was just me schlepping around trying to be an artist on my own or whatever. The other thing is rigor. You don't need to go to art school to be an artist. You don't even need to go to art school.
And I have a degree. I have a visual arts degree, so I can't be mad. I'm not at all.
Right. It's about what you're passionate about. If you're passionate about something, you're going to be good at it. I met plenty of people that have art degrees, or met while I was, like when I was working at UWM in the Foreign Languages and Linguistics department. I met plenty of people that were going to school for legitimately for art, but I was like, wow, you should probably take some time to like focus on being an artist, and don't worry about the school stuff yet, because the school stuff is about being serious that you're there and focusing and absorbing all of this information that most people, unless they're obsessive, aren't going to inundate themselves with, because it's so stressful, to put yourself through basically hardcore mental training week after week to learn something. Most people take the path of like, oh, this is really interesting. I'll do this for a while and go to the next thing whenever, a butterfly flies past my nose. So it's those two things. I don't think you have to go to be a good artist or a great artist. It's just connections and the rigor. So I really appreciate that I did it. It helped me really be able to, when I have the time, which I don't have a lot of these days because I have 3 kids. When you have the time, you spend the time acting like a student, you know, and that's basically my approach. It's kind of like the thing that keeps me sane, because as I went through all of this studying to be an animator and a visual artist and stuff, and then I had kids, and that really puts the kibosh on how mobile you are, and also like the economy cratered not too long after I graduated. And so what I was left with was like this skill set that it makes me look like a professional, but that's not my day job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my day job is something completely different. I do what I do because I love doing it. And if you don't love doing it, then it's gonna really kind of suck. And that's what you don't need school for, is the loving it part.
Two things.
Right.
Please call in on Thursday, because those are my youngins, and I got one that's in art school, and when I had him do his first artist talk, because I gave him an exhibition last year. How it's okay. How his work evolves, given the influence of grade and other people's theories, and what other people tell grade things that you should emulate or study.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I'll be interested. I would like you to like talk with them.
Yeah.
And then 2, have you ever considered formally putting your works into some kind of book platform?
Yeah, I've had several aborted gigs that were supposed to be books. I've had a string of bad luck with actually doing books. I was supposed to have done a couple children's books, and they fell through. And then I was supposed to have done some stuff, a comic book for the university, and they wanted to drastically underpay me for how much work they wanted, me to do. And then and then I started, I had more kids, and so that kind of like, so it was like, do I really want to like keep pursuing this as an illustrator? Yeah, but I've also got to pay bills too, so I'm busy more now these days with a job that pays the bills, uses some of my graphic talents, but for the most part, I'm just doing what I'm doing. But I would love to have work in a book, or work with someone who has a definite idea and hopefully funding to go forward with some sort of project. Because I enjoy collaborating with people, but these days everything comes with a quid pro quo. But yeah.
Allison?
Yes.
This is Jerry. I've got a question. Are you aware of the Milwaukee Artist Resource Network called MARN?
I am. That's actually how I got my current job as the ribbon maker for Cream City Ribbon. My boss had posted the job search on there, and it was forwarded to me.
Okay, the reason why I ask is because they've gotten some major grant from one of the local foundations in the last, 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a possible funding source for you for some project that you might want to do that's outside of your day job.
Right. I would. Can you? Is there something more specific?
If you go on their website, take a look. Also, they're right now. I'm in their membership. They've been sending out emails in the last week about funding that they have available to support artists, especially during this time right now.
Mm-hmm.
Grants up to about $5,000. It looks like you just have to, go through what your goals are and project and all that kind of stuff, and why you need the money, kind of thing.
Right.
I think this will be a good segue to bring in Don Mendenhall. I believe you self-published, correct?
Yes, and there's a story behind that as well.
So maybe you can
Okay.
talk about self-publishing to cut some of the middlemen out for now, if not forget
Yeah, just
out there.
to go quickly to that subject, this is a third book, and it's self-published in terms of going to it was Palmetto in North Carolina. My goal with this book was to have a traditional publisher, and I did get accepted by one, but when I read the contract, there were some things in there that they were going to hold ownership for 5 years. And if you read through the book, there's some very intimate stories about how people were treated in their life. And I could just see someone having second thoughts about that and then saying they want to not be a part of that anymore. And then I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And so I chose to go more what they call a hybrid, which is traditional publisher and self-published, kind of the in-between. And so now it's advertised on Amazon and that type of thing. So that's a plus. And then I do art shows and bring it along with me. And that's a nice outlet if you ever get into art shows, if that ever happens again. So far, I've had 2 or 3 canceled this year because of the virus thing. So.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Don, you want to talk about civility? I know
Sure.
Don
Yeah,
is
Yeah, please do.
both photographers, correct?
yes, I do life coaching, but also fine art photography, and I try to orient around the metaphor of my art with the human condition, and the other 2 books are very much oriented that way as well. One is called Pause, which it's those moments, those almost millisecond moments, had you made this decision as opposed to this decision and had waited a little bit, things might have been a little different one way or the other. And the other one was visual centering that brought in a lot of nature and the human condition as well. But with civility, I asked 20 people if I could interview them around how they were treated in their life and then also how they treated others. And the working title underneath civility is Belonging with Dignity. And what was interesting about that is the civility issue could be something so minor, but it accumulates over years, and it's almost as hard hitting as something that's very very direct, almost violent at times. And this particular book has the whole gamut of that type of thing. Plus, well, one woman had had an issue with the Ku Klux Klan. Another one was a 3-tour veteran in Iraq and saw the worst of the worst, and then had the post-traumatic issues going on. I almost want to do a second volume of it because the experience of just being with those people, talking about the things, how they've been treated and how they responded to it was just fascinating to me, heartfelt. So, and then at the end, I invited a psychologist to do a back and forth conversation with me about how we experienced the book. And it's really to encourage others who pick it up to find a partner or 2 and do the same thing. Just to talk about what happened to these people that might bring up what's happened to really all of us. And like I say, this thing about art, whether it's writing or painting or photography, what have you, I think it's really what we're supposed to be doing in life. You know, communicating who we are. I was going to ask each of you, is there a character or a painting or a writing that really, what should I say, tells the story about you? The people keep saying that your art tells more about you than just about anything. So I was curious about Allison, if he had a character that he's drawn that is you.
I'm gonna show some of your work because I forgot to pull it up, but you can answer the question, and then I
Yeah.
have.
That's a funny question to ask.
Well, and this may not be the forum for it, but
Right. I mean, I guess if anything, it's like the robots is probably a good metaphor for me if I could think of anything. Just, you know, all of the whole Japanese robot genre thing is basically this metaphor for the adolescent power fantasy, and you know, you just kind of never grow out of like what defined your youth. And for me, it was the robots, just, you know, having been bullied and just, you know, always the weirdo and stuff. So it's, yeah, for me it's robots.
I just feel like that art is, at least I treat my art as my second language. That
Right.
This is what I want to say. Here's how I'm experiencing things. This is what I want to say about it. You know?
Right.
Definitely.
But thanks for having this conversation and including me in it. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, thank you.
Likewise.
The most impactful book I've read for myself is Ain't I a Woman by Bell Hooks. That book changed my life. It made me feel normal. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not so weird like Allison said, like you feel like no one understands how I articulate things, how I process things mentally. And then that one just normalized everything for me.
Right.
Fatima, can I show just one picture? I want to say something about this individual very briefly.
Very open.
Kurt is one of the stories. And when I first met him, it was just at an art show and he was walking around. And I asked him if I could interview him, and we got going in it. And he says, you know, Don, do you know why people, I think, really do not like me? And he did this thing with his beard. And his statement was, underneath his picture, is, be careful about first impressions. And I thought that was kind of telltale.
How many of us have to survive first impressions?
Yeah.
It's one of human poorest decision making factors. So I'm gonna segue to Jerry, who also spoke in the photography virtual artist chat session. He also has books. He converted his works into books too. They're in not only the gift shop, but he sells them independently too on his website, which you can retype in the chat if you want.
I can put it in.
Started off with this one, with the example when you did a sample screen share.
Oh.
Can I show a couple images out of that first one that you're holding up?
Yeah.
You want to share your screen or you want me to open the book?
Well, I'll share the screen just real quick, and I'll do a quick little browse through it.
Okay.
So my dad was a tool and die maker, and he worked in a factory for many years for Harley Davidson. He was an excellent machinist and tool and die guy. And I inherited this toolbox that was in their basement, my folks' basement, for years. Then my dad passed, and it was in my mother's storage. And then she wanted me to take it on, and I did. And I just hid it away for a couple of years. And I've been fortunate to be working with Don Mendenhall for about 8 years now. He's been a personal mentor and a great teacher in photography, and he helped me conceptualize this and put together this series of images. It's really kind of a photo essay. It has very little text to it, other than to talk about what this collection of images mean to me. And I think really the elegance of what this craft, which is very much different today than it was when he was doing this in the 1940s. Much more computer-driven stuff today. But this is all hand tools. And I think each of these tools, as I look at them, not only were elegantly designed, but they they got the marks of my dad on him. You know, his initials are put on him because people didn't want to get their tools mixed up with somebody else's. You can see the precision, which also explained a lot to me when I started thinking about this, of why he was so precise in the way he did things around the house. So this kind of is a living treasure chest of memories for me. So this book is more of a legacy to my father. And so that's how that came about.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's also a popular, I get people, because of the website that I have, it does social analytics, and this particular set of images in my gallery is one of the more popular ones of all the different images that I have. So, yeah.
Has Harley, or anyone from Harley purchased the book?
Pardon?
Has Harley Davidson or anyone from Harley Davidson purchased the book?
I don't know that they know about it yet, but he didn't work there in his more recent years. He worked for a manufacturing plant up in Hopkins called E.R. Wagner Manufacturing. I have yet to get over and start to talk to these guys. But my last name is Steiberg, and my dad's uncle founded Steiberg Engineering in Racine, and I photographed a lot of these images that are in the book at the actual plant. I worked with the guys in the tool room, looked at some of the machines that my dad actually had used back in the late 40s. They still had them there. So I made connections with the company folks, doing that.
There was an employee of Harley who came to the gallery last year when we did, it was called Industrial Suture exhibition. So it was focused on like the body, love, but in industrial parts. In one of the we having discussions about. Can you hear me?
Not quite.
Did you hear anything?
I hear you now.
Okay, I said last year, an employee of Harley Davidson came and purchased some work that was industrial based from one of the exhibitions, and we're having discussions with them about circulating that exhibition and hopefully them collecting more of the works for the physical facility.
Okay.
The book would be good since your dad has tangible physical history there.
Yes, he did.
So
if you have
reach out to that person.
That would be great.
I mean, everything now is kind of like, but it's still like good to like put out feelers when people start going to work. I'm sure they are still operating some things too.
Sure. I'm surprised at how many guys that had fathers or grandfathers that worked in the trade, and they recognized that same kind of toolbox. And I'd hear more stories putting up some of these pictures in exhibitions.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that lead.
And my dad just passed away recently, and he left all of his tools when I go over to my parents' house. He's got like his whole tool chest and everything down there, and he used to work at like Snap-on Tools and came from that whole same sort of tradition of guys with their magnificent tool chest that they built up over the years of these precision instruments and very hands-on stuff. He's also a ham radio operator, so I can totally, when you're flashing those images, it was like, yeah, I remember I grew up with that kind of stuff myself.
Even one of the images it has inside the toolbox, because my dad sometimes would, if he overslept, mirror inside, you flip up the lid, and there was a couple razor blades in the razor, like he saved at work when he was just about to work.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, my dad is a plumber, and he's helped construct some frames for the artists I was just speaking about. They wanted to add an element of extra industry, so they created some frames out of really it's like electrical piping.
Conduit, right?
Conduit, yeah. But the thick kind, and so he helped cut the pieces so someone else could put it together. And so
Fatima, does your
industries and how artists reach far out of the box?
Fatima, does your gallery offer workshop settings as well?
Started doing workshops the end of last year. So we were currently in our second one and starting to roll out more, but we had to cut it short. So we got cut short halfway.
Yeah.
Workshop, which was a portraiture painting workshop that we thought about trying to put online, but it had already started and people were already painting from different perspectives from a live model. So it wouldn't have worked because their positioning would have been off. So now we're just trying to figure out how to keep that moving forward. So if things become more virtual based permanently, which is annoying for me, I like in-person stuff.
Right.
And it does take away to me from the art experience. Then we could allow some more workshops, but that specific one we couldn't adjust because people were already positioned in certain ways.
Okay.
Versus just being straight on from the same screen and vantage point. So, but yes, we do workshops and I'm open to different ones. The audience, so things the gallery doesn't do is like your sips and paints. That's not really the kind of branding I want for the gallery. I want it like more like, not that we're not fun because everyone comes and has fun. And like when we have our exhibition openings, there is wine there, there's music playing, people enjoy the experience, but it's less like exploitative for the artists and entertainment based. Like we're encouraging like networking of the work. And so even with the workshops, it's like, it can be geared for any audience, children to adult, but it's like the people who really want to learn the real skill behind the work versus this being a drop-off daycare center or, you know, everyone that's together in the chat, like they're actually listening to an instructor and they have free time to experiment and try to master the craft. But, so that when I'm recruiting people, that's what I tell them. Like we want them to really get something out of it versus idleness.
Oh, I can dig it. I like that.
So yeah, I even have one planned for like a dance, like someone would be teaching, create a dance performance that would have led up to like this time in June. Do a final performance. But yeah, so I'm re-recording, but yeah, workshop.
And keep those ideas in the hopper. Just keep those things cooking. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that it's been really interesting to begin to negotiate like this new space in which we are now and how to still provide spaces to show and share creativity, create things in general. And for instance, so genre, we aren't only a publishing co. We're also a we also host events.
He's not inside the yard?
Okay. Is somebody here?
I don't know, babe.
Are you able to hear me okay?
Mark, can you mute your button for a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Cool.
I don't know how to do this. I'm so sorry.
Okay. I don't either.
I know I'll be quiet.
That's okay.
I'll be quiet.
Mark is in Thailand, so he's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you were listening. I'm serious. Please forgive me.
But what I was saying is we're trying to negotiate and figure out how to do new things. And for the first time, I held a rap battle. Well, I organized it, and I had two local rappers rap battles, very friendly fire, I called it. They rapped it out, and that was pretty cool. Is it okay if I show another cover, Fatima? Because I have one of my contributors in, and I kind of want to just show her some love for the cover she did for genre.
Show away.
All right, so let me see. The share button is always good.
There you go.
So this cover is by Layla Amin, and she when I saw this piece, I said like, I need that for a cover.
That's what I would say too.
Isn't it beautiful? It's so beautiful. And one of the ideas that I wanted to keep in genre urban arts is that it's for like really the, you know, all the people that you would see stepping out onto the street in the city. And so Layla, I just want to say, hey, there's your cover. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And I'll get her information and put her social media so you guys can look at more of her work. But just beautiful. Isn't it insane?
That's nice. That's dope.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Layla, Layla, can you hear us? I can.
Very nice. Very nice.
I don't know how to unshare.
At the top.
That? No. This?
There you
go.
go.
Hey.
Hey.
I forgot you to see my screen. I'm like, how does she know?
I've done it. I've used it so I can kind of help navigate.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Layla, what kind of work do you produce?
Looks like her mic is.
Yeah, her mic is muted.
If you can unmute your mic.
Let me see, is she able to?
She wrote in the
yeah, she just said something.
Oh, okay.
She's trying.
It's in the lower left corner of your screen.
Yes.
Mark, I'm gonna introduce you. I kind of mentioned, oh, there's an artist who works. He's American, but he lives in Thailand, and he produces some phenomenal work. But he's also expanded his production outside of just the physical visual, like paintings. He does kind of a collage and painting kind of work, but into some books, and he combines the literary with the visual too. So yes. You want to share a little bit about that, Mark? We're trying to get his work here.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited about possibility of presenting, you know, the work that I was talking to you about, and we will talk in a week or two. First of all, let me apologize. This is my second time using this, and I didn't know that you could hear my private conversation. So I don't have any visuals, but my main project right now is the mythos of Saint Sambo, okay? And Saint Sambo is using the stereotype and moving it to some archetypes like the prophet, the saint, and etc. And so I'm writing a book, and it's called variously the Big Book of Saint Sambo. And it's about stuff that we deal with. Okay, Saint Sambo is the prophet of righteousness, not righteousness, but righteousness, okay? And you know how the symbol of the Sambo is always smiling, right? And so that's what he does, right? You know, he really accommodates white power. And I believe that we all do that, and that in traditions or ancestral traditions as Black people, many of us survive because we accommodate, okay? And that's just the facts of it is, okay? And accommodation is a technical term. We use that, but in the street vernacular, what is it? It is kissing white ass, okay? And we know that, right? And so, you know, his deity is this large white booty, okay? It's glorious, but it's nothing like a ample white rear, okay? And then inside of it, right? And I wish I had some pictures. You can go to my Instagram, right? Mark Doox, D-O-O-X, right? Okay, Mark.Doox, D-O-O-X. And you can look at some of the pictures. And inside of the booty, right, okay, is in what is called the white ass holy of holy, right?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's
Alright,
the
okay.
white ass holy of holies, right? Is this white smiling face. And it's called the impersonal, right? Smiling face of white privilege. Because, I mean, some of the white people here right now, you know, they can relate to, it's an impersonal thing. I mean, their privilege is somewhat impersonal. It's just something bestowed on them, right? Okay? And so there's nothing that they're necessarily doing, but there are people that, of course, is into spreading white supremacy by any means necessary, and etc. So if I could, I would like to read this a little bit. Is that okay or not?
Yep, go ahead.
It's brief, right? Okay, so this is Saint Sambo. This is a part of the book. It's called Saint Sambo meets the 10 brothers of ill repute. Okay, and it says Saint Sambo went to a nearby park and raised his voice, saying, "The plantation of God is here." And he preached to all who would listen. Many of the people said, "Isn't he the son of or rather Uncle Tom, the white ass kisser and race traitor?" And now he believes himself to be some kind of a prophet or even a saint. But we say he has gone mad from being around someone that kisses so much white ass. And because he was so black, Saint Sambo, and had robes on, in derision they shouted, "What's up, Saint Sambo?" And this nickname caught on and became what he would be known by forever. Now, many people who laughed before now stopped when they heard a voice from heaven. And the voice said, "Behold my only begotten son, and in him who I am well pleased." Now, there were some that did not like his preaching. There was a portion of them, that decided among themselves that they would do something about it. And they were 10 in number. Now, these 10 had a meeting and felt that they needed to go to Saint Sambo to converse with him. And if they could, to also do him bodily harm. And so Saint Sambo met these 10 brothers while traveling from here and from there and preaching the good news of the plantation of God, as was his wont and his burden. And upon seeing them, Saint Sambo said to them, "Greetings, brothers, a peace be unto you." And he offered them a slice of the sacred fruit, even of the shining watermelon that he always had with him. And each of the 10 brothers raised a hand above their head, and each hand that they raised, there was a gun. "We do not need your peace, Saint Sambo," they said, "for each and every one of us have our own peace. Ha 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 ha. And we like ours just fine, thank you very much. Ha 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 ha." Saint Sambo said, "I perceive that you are 10 brothers of ill intent." And they replied, "Yes, we be bad, ha 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 ha, and cool as hell. We be gang members and even ballers and dope dealers and thugs. And we even call each other dogs. Moreover, we consider ourselves players in the great game of life. And every one of us have taken a vow to neither eat or sleep until you are 6 feet under and dead. For we perceive and know what you really are, and that you are a grinning, cheese-eating, and white-ass-kissing Sambo. And the doctrine that you teach, we cannot stand." Saint Sambo said, "You think you know, but you know not as you ought. But I know fully of and of what I do. Now the wisdom that I teach has come down from our ancestors who endured much suffering, and from them comes the word I preach. And is older than your hip-hop and more enduring than your thug life. For verily I say unto you, when the ancestors were still on the plantation and in so-called slavery, and was first introduced to the veneration of the divine white booty of God, and was diligently taught it even at the tip of the master's whip. I was there. Now I come a preaching that which I know endures, and what only I have experienced in its fullness. And the 10 brothers were surprised at his words. And they began to laugh. Oh, my, check this OG out. They said to themselves, isn't he one off the hook motherfucker and crazier than hell? Then they said to him, tell us this, you crazy ass motherfucker, you. How can you have lived with the ancestors during slavery? Nobody living can be that old. St. Sambo looked at them and smiled and said, verily I say unto you, before Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Frederick Douglass, and even Kunta Kinte was, I is. Not this, the 10 brothers became upset and rent their garments, and being also dropouts, they said, Harriet Tubman we know not, Sojourner Truth we know not, Frederick Douglass we know not, and Kunta Kinte we know not. But this we know, said Sambo, to us you ain't no saint. We don't recognize you, for you badmouth our gods and disrespect our pimps and preachers. You talk as if we live still in the past and we all should be good coons and good niggas. But we all say to you, fuck that shit. And that we are not coons and we be not niggers, but we be cool and we be niggas. And yes, we proudly use that word. For as one of our very own prophets has spoken, a nigger is a black man with a white rope around his neck, and he is hanging from a tree. A nigger is a black man with gold chains around his neck, hanging out at the club. Now you would have black people go back rather than go forward to continue to worship the divine white booty of God and to venerate it as it has been taught to us of old. Therefore, we have decided to do a good deed. We have decided that we shall rid our people from the likes of you forever. Now, Saint Sambo, be prepared to meet your maker, for we are now going to bust a cap all up in your ass, and we are planning not to pop just one up there, but quite a few. And St. Sambo raised his head high in defiance of them and said, wait, my brothers. And he stepped up on a high place called a dumpster so that he might more clearly be seen. And from there, he said, now I am ready. And I say, go on and do what you think you must do. I forewarn you that no weapon you have formed against me will prosper. For verily I say unto you, I am the N-word of God. And this is more crazy. Okay now. Okay, you know I'm preaching. Okay. And
Gave a sermon.
drove them even more crazy. Okay? And this drove them even more crazy for this truth. You know? And they became totally besides themselves in anger. Fuck you, you crazy ass motherfucking nigga. How dare you talk to us like that?
That's right.
They said to him, as if you have some power that will protect you from the likes of us. And so the 10 brothers started to shoot at St. Sambo. But Sambo smiled, and he remained in their midst unharmed. And they could not hit him, for they could not see him, for he was shining so. And the 10 brothers, blinded by the shining grin of St. Sambo, fell into confusion and by accident started shooting themselves instead. Wow. Nigga, what you doing? Catch your aim? Damn, motherfucker, don't point that at me. Pow, pow, pow. Hey, shit. Wait, dog. Damn, they said. And in no time at all, they all lay moaning on the ground, wounded unto death. And the devil came and took their souls. And then the crackheads picked their pockets. And Saint Sambo wept. Okay.
So much. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Zero idea.
Okay.
Jeez.
That we were getting a sermon and the death sermon.
I was not expecting that at all.
It was great.
So that's one part of the book, right?
One part of the book.
It's a book.
You got to check out the pictures too.
That's what I was gonna say. I want to see the pictures.
The pictures I really,
Because believe
I'm
it or
looking
not, right?
I just want to see one picture.
the pictures
Okay,
I like.
believe it or
I'm
not,
look.
I used to paint pictures, right, in the old-fashioned iconography of the Byzantines, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for churches. Okay, so you know the pictures are up there. Okay, the pictures are on that level. Okay, so you got to check it out. And lastly,
Did you use?
I said the
And lastly, me and Fatima is talking about having a show of an offsprout of this, right? Because the counterpart of Saint Sambo, the accommodationalist nigger or Negro, excuse me, and a person that accommodates is the person that don't accommodate, the bad Negro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I am submitting as being the buck nigger, okay? And so, I'm creating this show, hopefully with Fatima, we're talking about it. And it's called bucknigger.biz, because there is, right, it's talking about masculinity and power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, and that's very scary to a lot of people.
It is. Yes, it is.
Okay. But also power, right? There's legitimate power in business and money. And that's scary too. To see like a black person doing business and money. So that's why I'm combining the two, right? Into bucknigger.biz, right? And we're going to be dealing with these issues around the fetishization of black men, hyper masculinity, the perception of people have of black men, as objects of sexual desire, all kinds of stuff. All these stuff around masculinity and power of black men, and also business and money at the same time.
Sounds like a powerful message right there.
Nakeysha,
Thank you very much.
You should check out his IG because his.
Oh yeah, I just did.
I'm looking at it right now.
I'm following him right now.
I just followed him.
Layla sent it to me. I'm like, can you? Okay.
Because your publication is very international based.
Mm-hmm. Oh, these are.
Because he lives in Thailand. That's where he lives.
Well, I live partly in Thailand. I'm American citizen, so I live in America.
I know he's an American citizen, but he lives in
right. I have an American address and everything like that. I spend a lot of time in Thailand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a Thai family here, okay, and they're a Thai family, and I came out here around about 8 years ago with a friend from the military. And he was stationed here many years ago, okay, in the Vietnam War. And he said, I'm going to Thailand. And I said, why are you going there? He said, wow. And so he paid for my ticket. And I came here and I really love the people. You got to get out of the United States, black folk. You got to get out. Because we live like a racial drama 24/7, right, in America that really don't have to live that racial drama, okay? So you got to get out, find a place, because you show up differently in different places. And of course, they have media out here, right? And so but they don't really know what a nigger is. They don't really know, okay? They don't. right? They don't really know what a nigger is. So you have a lot more freedom, right? But people back at home, they know exactly what a nigger is, and they're always saying that's who you are, okay? And you know that on a psychological level, right? You know, so there's that freedom. And I enjoyed it so much that I managed to be able to stay here as long as possible. But I don't really live here. I'm a visitor, right? And so, you know,
Okay.
my place of residence is in San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I concur. I'm a big advocate of traveling to experience for yourself because we have to navigate everyone's stereotypes. I've gone to places and people have been terrified and I've gone by myself, been terrified for me to go and experience night and day from what they told me it would be. Like, you know, my life, if something happens, it happens. I'll die doing it my way. That's all.
Yeah.
I've been to Thailand. Thailand is very.
I've had people here in Thailand, right? I don't even hang out with what they call the expats, because most of them are Caucasian, okay? And these guys, right, they try to convince me that the Thai people are racist, okay? And I'm living here. They're trying to brainwash me, right? Okay, and say, oh, wow, you got to watch out and all this good stuff. And I'm living here, okay? This is how ingrained they need to back up the reality or confirm the reality, okay? But that's not necessarily true. I'm always surprised at Thai people smiling unexpectedly, right? When I show up. And you know you don't get that in America, okay? You know you don't get that. So
I haven't been able to go abroad since the start of this glorious 5 Points project, and I've gone crazy. I
just went here. There's a couple white people. There were a couple white people here, okay, and they've been very silent around my, like my reading. I would like to get some feedback from them, just briefly, right? What they think. You know, what do you think about St. Sambo? Okay.
For me, your experience in life, there was a lot of what you read. My background is in history, and I'm very interested in the human condition.
Frozen?
Yeah.
And but a number of you were laughing quite a bit toward the end, and I could not get there to laugh about that because to me it was very serious. I mean, I missed the boat somewhere with that.
Gallows humor.
Gallows humor.
I guess it's gallows humor. It's for me. I'm gonna speak for myself. It was a mix of the story,
yes,
and the visual I'm creating, and like I don't know if you can hypocrisy and then like contradiction and all that stuff, and then the way he animating, it sounds like a preacher.
Is it a laugh or cry type of story?
Huh?
Is it a laugh or cry type of story? Either one plays.
That was the first time I heard the story. Is it hard for you? Is it a laugh or cry type of story? I can't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit both, but I like the guy that said like gallows humor, right? But also I've read this in a mixed company in a lot of ways, right? A lot of times, and it's so fine, right? Because basically at one point we were thinking about making this into a monologue.
Yeah.
So there's a performance aspect to this, and so when you're getting a play together, right? You have what they call kitchen readings, okay? And so while I was in San Francisco, we had a few kitchen readings. It's called kitchen top or tabletop readings or something like that. Mm-hmm. And we would get together, and I would read this, or I actually had an actor friend read it one time. And so it seems like Caucasian people, right, need permission to laugh.
Yeah.
You see what I'm talking about?
It feels, because for me, there's
so hard hitting. It's so hard hitting. And so when, in a way, maybe I didn't do it right. I said that you can laugh at this. Yeah. Okay. This is supposed to be funny. Okay. And so maybe that, you know, I should tell people that if I'm doing a reading and it's a mixed company, but usually Black people, they come around. I think at the beginning they wondering, oh no, this Negro is going to do something I don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? He's going to embarrass himself. He's going to embarrass me, right? Out there,
And he knows it.
No.
And he knows it.
Change the line. Right? And they say, oh, I can relax. I can relax with brothers, what he's doing, because what he's doing, right, he's showing me that he's competent. And so, and then I know, you know, when people start laughing, right, that, oh, I can relax. Because they're getting it, right?
Mark,
it's not about just being silent.
I think where I come from sometimes is this thing about buying into corporate guilt. And that gets very serious because my heart is one way, and then I don't care what you do, I'm still a part of it. And you know, we got the white privilege stuff and all that, and so that's a hard thing sometimes.
No, but you have to look at it from the Black perspective too. Okay. On the other hand, right, there is white guilt, yes, right, but there's also Black shame. Okay, and they work together. Okay. Now, in the mythos of Saint Sambo, right, okay, there is the demon, right, of white guilt and Black shame, and their names are very telling. Okay, the demon of Black shame is called. Okay, now the demon of Black shame is called Doo Brown.
Doo Brown.
Okay. And the demon of white guilt is called Pukey Pink.
Yeah. I hear that.
You see, they really actually work together. You know, because there is a corporate Black shame too, right? And sometimes we don't want to deal with stuff, right? We just want to get along. We don't want to deal with this stuff anymore. Some of us say, okay, that stuff in the past. If you just treat me right, I'll forget about that. Let's just move on. But the problem is that it's always coming up time after again. Yeah. So,
I think,
you know, that's one aspect.
You know, I felt very like this was very hard hitting, and I was taking this very seriously because I thought you had an extremely valid case to make about what is going on in this world and what you've experienced or what you know. And yet, until somebody else started to laugh, I was not feeling like that was even appropriate.
I was gonna laugh regardless because I just thought it was like I cannot the audacity. This guy is like, and it was. I would have been laughing anyway. I would have been man out if it was
the second the big white booty was mentioned. I was like, okay, all bets are off.
I lost it. Yes,
it's fantastic. I went through a whole bunch of pages as you were going on.
I think that is
the sun does shine. You see?
Yeah. Oh well, you know, white shit don't stink, man. White shit don't stink because it has been purified by the rays of the sun.
God.
Of God. The Son of God.
I think Fatima is trying to speak, y'all. Let's
So, Mark's, I'm gonna call it a performance because it was very theatrical.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's good.
It speaks to representation. It speaks to cultural differences in the viewer experience with art too. So like that's why, you know, it's important to see different people's works. There are like probably cultural things we picked up on that you might not have.
Right.
He said,
because some people don't even know what a booty is.
You know, so some of it is you know, cheeky and silly. While it's masked in like a serious, like you can sit down and have a serious talk about this while he's delivering in such a way. And like that, it speaks to the breadth of what he's doing. It can be a whole theatrical play.
Yeah.
Well, a brother in Colorado, he wants, when the book comes out, he wants to make it into a play. Okay. Right.
But I'm saying
And so there's some attention in that. There's some attention in that.
they're also
Getting
speaking
back to the performance.
how people process the same thing.
Right.
What's appropriate and what's not, how it resonates with you. Like if I had your workup, will it cause shame to somebody and guilt for another, humor to like it resonates differently. And so
Right.
that's the importance
But
about
what I want to tap into all of that at the same time, though, not just one thing.
it's not just about your work, it's just art in general. Like that's how
But I know people. I
Yeah.
know people, right, will have their own experience. But I know in the creation of this, right, I don't want just to tap into all, just one thing. I want to tap into a rich experience of what I call the enigma, right? Okay, because that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the enigma, and so and that is a good term. There's the enigma, which means puzzle, conundrum, mystery, and then there's the N-word, right? And to have an enigma, you have to have, right, not only an enigma, but you need an N-word too. You know what I'm talking about? So, you need, for an enigma, you need an enigma in the N-word. It's a particular type of enigma to our lives. And we need to ponder that, right? And that's what I want people to do. I want the people to ponder this. And lastly, right, what because I don't want to dominate, the time. But lastly, what I want to do is with the bucknigger.biz, believe me, Fatima, bucknigger.biz, right, is even in many ways rougher than Sing Sambo. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to present something to you in Rico, right? So you can see what I'm talking about. But, I'm really looking forward to the show, right? This is a show made for 5 points, I believe.
and I'm willing to take it.
Okay, but I don't want to dominate. I want to move on, right? But please, guys, stay in touch, right? Follow me because I want to see your guys' work, and then when I see you following me, I'll be able to say, oh yeah, there's that brother there, and etc., and follow you and everything.
Okay.
This is stay in touch and continue. And I'm just saying, I love this. I'm so happy that I was able to be here. I knew I wanted to.
And now y'all have global connections. I'm going to transition to Layla. She was able to get her speaker. We were like loving your I don't know if it's an illustration.
Oh, my camera's working. Hey guys.
Hey.
Really
Can
beautiful.
everyone see
Really
and hear me?
beautiful. I love it.
Guys. Wasn't expecting to talk or go on camera, but here I am in quarantine. Actually, Fatima, I'm or Fatima. Is it Fatima or Fatima?
We just had this
We just had to talk.
Fatima.
Fatima. Okay.
Or
Yeah, because my younger sister's name is Fatima. So, but yeah, I'm familiar with 5 Points because I'm a mentee for Sharon Carey Harlan right now through the Milwaukee Artist Resource Network. So your name has come up quite a bit. So really cool finally meeting you, even though it's through a screen. But yeah, I kind of consider myself like a painter, mixed media artist, and textile work. I went to UWM Peck School of the Arts and graduated with a BFA in fibers, which is basically textile art. And as of recently, I've been doing a lot more like mixed media work, so kind of incorporating a little bit of everything. And then it's actually a good transition because Nakeysha showed what my work looked like a few years ago, and it's been really cool to see how much it's transformed since then. This is something I'm currently working on right now in the background from my bedroom. I do have an art studio at VAR West Galleries in Walker's Point. that luckily I'm still able to access. I feel like I would go a little crazy if I wasn't able to get there with everything going on. But a lot of my work now focuses kind of on my healing from like trauma to the body, and finding kind of like spiritual pathways, like my interpretations of them. So my work has definitely become much more figurative and personal compared to previous things that were a little more geometric and abstract, and kind of like followed those I guess like religious guidelines of like you don't present a human body in your work, and I've been breaking away from those quite a bit. And I can write this down in the chat, but I do have an artist website finally. After months of putting it together, it's live, and I'll drop that below so everyone can come check out my work even a little bit more. So yeah.
Cool. Sharon, are you getting prepared for the Myron Minty final exhibition? I know.
Yeah, so it's going to happen. So I don't know who is familiar with the Marn Mentee program or the mentor program. It's about a year long, and it pairs up kind of like not necessarily emerging artists, but also artists who are just like in a point of their career where maybe they want to take it to the next level and they need to have more of that professional guidance to get there. You apply, you send in work, and you get paired up with someone. And I was very lucky to get paired up with Sharon. She is such an incredible Wisconsin artist, and she's been so inspiring to work with and get connections to. And at the end of this program is our exhibition, which is the piece behind me is what I'm working on for that show. It is scheduled for the end of May at the UWM Union Art Gallery, but just with everything going on in the planet, I don't know what the status of that is. So I have yet to hear any kind of like updates regarding the show, but if I've kind of heard, it's not really confirmed or anything, if it isn't going to be at the Union Art Gallery, hopefully they will have it at the new Martin building, which is on Broadway in the 3rd Ward. So hopefully we'll see. There's a lot of like unknowns regarding the show.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, that's for me and for everyone else. It's just like, you know, so that's fair. I know it's been pushed.
Yeah.
I'm adding you to IG right now, sorry.
Yeah, add me on Instagram. That's usually where I kind of post like works in progress or like sometimes finished works, but I've really been trying to use more of like my website to show like what my finished works are. So both are good.
Is your IG linked to your website?
It is, yes.
Okay.
So if you go
what's
to
your IG address again? Because I would like to follow
it
you.
is Layla the Creative. So my first name, which is LIALA, the Creative, and it's the same for Instagram and for my website.
Okay, Creative. Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, does anybody have any last words? No sermons.
Layla, do you know Rosie Petrie?
I've met her, yeah.
Okay, because I know you guys got the same style. You guys got awesome
that's
work.
a huge compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met her through Swan Day Milwaukee, which is an all-female, like women identifying art exhibition that happens every year. So SWAN stands for Support Women Artists Now, and she was in our show last year. So I met her through that, and she's really awesome.
She is awesome. She's definitely awesome. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have.
thank you for everyone's discussion, contribution. I hope you all can network. I really think, Allison, it'll benefit you to talk to Jerry and Don about possibly looking into like self-publishing some books.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's if you want. I'm not your boss or your maker.
Be happy to do that with you.
Yeah, well, actually, you know, I might have to
Yeah.
self-publish St. Sambo. So I'm really interested in just getting as much information as possible. So if I can just stay in touch with some people. I came here a little bit late because I could not get things to work. So I don't know people's names. So, but if we can just stay in contact, I appreciate it.
Okay.
You know, love to have a conversation about
No problem with me.
self-publishing.
That's fine.
You know, the guy with civility. I love the, you know, like to stay in contact with him. I love the book. I want to get the book. You know, I think that's a dynamite idea. You know, we need, you know, kindness and civility.
I wish I
And
could have
we need
interviewed
to talk
you.
about that.
I wish I could have
Yeah.
interviewed
It's
you.
really important.
Volume 2, Don.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate this. This is a really dynamic one. Unexpected stuff.
That's right.
Because I really appreciate real dialogue and like the feedback from Don and Jerry saying like, you know, I don't know how to take this serious. We're laughing over here.
Yeah.
And we possibly could be offending Mark. We don't know, but the delivery, I don't know. But
No, but I find this is that a lot of people have never had, right, an opportunity to have a real conversation. Okay.
Because everyone's afraid to push the envelope and like really get down
when I was
to it.
reading
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was reading this in mixed company, people would say that I feel safe here. I feel like I can actually talk about things a little bit more freely. And, you know, some things that you might be afraid of talking in mixed company. And so maybe I would like to actually do some St. Sambo artist talks. And we're thinking about having something like that at 5 Points, and to have people come in and then we can talk about anything, you know.
Yeah, and that's the purpose of this.
I find that's healing. There's healing there.
Yep.
You know. Yeah.
Let us know if it happens. That would be great. Love to be part of that.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
So thanks again. I'll
Thank you.
Again, I recorded this so I can email this out to you all.
Okay.
And
that'd be great. That'd be great.
I'm working on attaching them to the email distributions, the link, so people can go back and look at the previous recordings. They all have their own personalities. But I hope you all can stay in touch. If you need contact information, you can always contact me and I can give you the information. You can do whatever you do.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And take care.
Thank
Let me
you.
know how I can help.
All right.
Yeah, thank you guys for letting me join
Hey guys.
All
It's
right.
nice meeting
No
you all.
doubt.
late.
Yeah, it's okay.
Audio issues, but it's really inspiring to see how other you know, creative people and other artists are managing through this, and that we're still pushing forward regardless. So it makes me really happy to see that too, that we're not like completely alone.
Yep, you're not. And this is my last comment. From all of these series of discussions, these sessions, one of the common outliers is, or common threads is like the artists are really still working. They're pumping out stuff. It's working. It doesn't mean that they're not affected by what's going on, but a lot of them are pumping out work. And I have one artist that I deal with, and he's really down right now. And I'm like, you know, how can I help? You know, what do you need? And he's like, a career. I'm like, do you need a career? Career takes time. Career is investment. Right now, if you want a career, this is the time to produce, knock stuff out, experiment, and get ready for when this passes. Now, job / money, that's a whole nother strategy. So apply for this, apply for that. You know, they're not really jobs accessible right now, but there's grants, you know, that are competitive, unemployment.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are two different things. But, you know, but he said, you know, I'm still making work. And I was like, that's the best you can do.
Nope.
That's what
Make
you
some
can do.
work and go for some isolated walks, get some vitamin D.
Yes.
Vitamin C.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Work.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to think about, you know, the future too far, or have negative thoughts about when is this going to end? Is it going to change the world? You know, I mean, stuff like that. You just have to stay present, I think,
Yeah.
and just do the work that your heart desires you to do right now, right? Because no one knows the future.
Right.
Got it.
You know,
Right.
but if you are doing the work, I believe as an artist, you prepare for the future.
You're gonna be ready.
Yep.
You be ready.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
everyone
beautiful people.
Mark, is it daytime there? Everyone else have a good evening.
You too.
Yeah, it's daytime here.
Have a good rest
Okay. Thank you so much.
Take it easy, guys.
I enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much.
You're
You know, thank you. Okay. All right. See you guys.
Deuces.
I'm going to try to
Bye,
find out how I
everybody.
shut this off.
welcome.
Oh, leave. Okay. Bye.
Bye.